Hi, everybody. My name is Jason Klein. I'm the Director of P-20 Initiatives at Northern Illinois University. And this is a presentation as part of our virtual spring P-20 network meeting. Our meeting is happening virtually. It was supposed to take place face-to-face on April 23rd, 2020 at the NIU Naperville campus, but due to the shelter-in-place order from the governor, we have moved the meeting online, and we're excited to bring you a series of presentations today. This is a keynote presentation that we've got here, and we're excited to have Bridget French from the Rockford Public School District with us. We're going to turn it over to Bridget to introduce herself. Bridget.
Thanks, Jason. My name is Bridget French, and I am the Executive Director of College and Career Readiness for Rockford Public Schools. So a little bit about Rockford Public Schools. We have approximately 30,000 students in 42 schools. We have about a 56% low income rate and approximately a 65% graduation rate. We've been hovering around that 65% mark for the last few years here. So we have 4 comprehensive high schools and 1 credit recovery alternative learning high school that all have wall-to-wall academies. And we started our academies journey with the Ford NGL, Ford Next Generation Learning Model, which focuses on transforming teaching and learning, which focuses on the academic transformation, transforming the secondary school experience, which focuses on the structural piece, and then transforming business and civic engagement, which obviously focuses on bringing the community into your schools as key partners. We started talking about this in the 2010 school year with a partnership with a not-for-profit called Alignment Rockford, which has since served as our intermediary and the convener of our business community. And then in 2012 is when we first piloted academies at one of our high schools, slowly scaling up until the 2014-15 school year when we went wall-to-wall, full implementation at all 4 of our traditional schools and our alternative learning school. We have 5 academies. The first is our freshman academy. All of our freshmen start their 9th grade year together in a cohort of freshmen. And then in grades 10 through 12, our students choose one of 4 academies that exist at all of our schools: business, health, service, and production. We've created a profile of a graduate, which helps us guide our work and allows us to provide metrics for ourselves, to hold ourselves accountable, to ensure that all of our students are college, career, and life ready. It really helps us hold in common across systems what we want to provide for students. So that includes a backwards design for integrated learning. So providing intentional, structured, deep learning for all of our students that connects to our community, and is sort of a contract with the community saying, these are the students that are going to become yours, that are going to become ours. And again, they provide metrics for ourselves and our students. So these also align to the college and career readiness indicators that are required by ESSA. A student path begins in 8th grade. So all of our 8th grade students in the second half of their school year take an 8th grade seminar course, which really focuses on what does it mean to be a high school student, what are credits, what are academies, and what do I know about the things that I like and the things that I don't like. Then when a student enters high school, they start in 9th grade seminar, which really covers a whole gamut of all of the academies. Each quarter of the school year, students will focus on one academy. So the first quarter at one school may be business, second quarter health, and so on and so forth. And during that quarter, they will speak with community members. They will go into the classrooms of their upperclassmen peers. They will go to a career exploration event called the Academy Expo. The whole year is designed to help them think about what academy they want to choose. And then second semester, they choose the academy and pathway and the 3-course sequence that they will be in for grades 10 through 12. We've also designed a work-based learning continuum that aligns to the PACE framework as a part of the Post-Secondary Workforce Readiness Act that outlines all of the experiences that we want our students to have by the time they graduate from Rockford Public Schools. Our partners with Alignment Rockford help create experiences and connect us to key employers to provide these experiences to our students. As I mentioned, the Academy Expo is one of those key events for our students. We have approximately 140 industry professionals that come together to provide hands-on career demonstrations for our students that, again, expose them to the different kinds of careers that are available in our community and that align to our academies and our pathways. A student's sophomore year, they're going to go on 1 to 2 site visits, and those site visits are typically 60 to 90 minutes long, where a student would go into a company, a not-for-profit business organization, and get a tour and just a general overview of what does the workspace feel like and what do employees do here. We really try to get them to 2 visits so they may be able to compare and contrast small or large businesses of the same type, but we want at a minimum all of our students in 10th grade to have at least 1 site visit to affirm that they've made the right choice, or in some cases, allow them an opportunity to switch before the end of their sophomore year. In 11th grade, our students will go on a job shadow experience, which is typically a 4 to 6 hour deep dive into a professional's day in the life. This has been a heavy lift for us because we really have stressed very small groups of students so that they can have the intentional opportunities to connect with employers in a you do, we do, I do sort of model. So I'm going to watch you do something, then we're going to do it together, and then I'm going to do it on my own with your oversight to really get an idea of what careers are like in our community. So I want to talk a little bit about how we started, and then I will go into some of the areas that we're focused on now. So again, looking at the for next generation learning model, we really started with the transforming business and civic engagement piece. Alignment Rockford and a group of very influential community members came to our school board and our superintendent at the time and said, we need to do something transformational with our high schools, and we found this model in other communities that we really believe works. We had a lot of community members commit to partnering with our students and with our teachers. But the issue really is, was, and it in some extent still is, that we have a lot of willing partners who aren't strategically aligned. And so what that means is a lot of our work-based learning experiences are still one-offs. They are one teacher reaching out to one business person, one academy coach who's our liaison between the community and the schools, reaching out to a business professional. And when you think about doing large events like the Academy Expo, or even sending 60 to 100 students to a site visit, that works. But when you start getting to job shadows and in the future internships where you're looking at 1-to-1 ratios or even 1-to-3 ratios of business partners to students, that becomes a capacity issue. So the next thing we focused on was transforming the secondary school experience, which is really focusing on the structure of academies. So a couple really great things happened at the same time that academies were launched. We were able to move from a 6 to a 7 period day, which allowed us for opportunities to embed those pathway courses and still allow students to have an opportunity to take exploratory electives. We also, the community passed a capital bonds referendum for approximately $170 million, which allowed us to not only update some of our schools that had some deferred maintenance, but it also allowed us to create some flexible learning environments for our students that were truly 21st century classrooms. At the same time, what was happening was 3 course sequences were not largely in place. We really had great intentions when we began the Academies model, but in a sense, we still tried to be everything to everyone. We had 23 pathways, and within those pathways, sometimes there were over 15 different course offerings. So you could be in the Business Academy and you could take 3 different intro classes that had nothing to do with each other, but still technically be in the same academy. And then concurrently, we were really not offering any kind of dual credit to students unless they had a lot of social capital. And by that, I mean, dual credit was available to students who had parents who understood the system, were able to navigate it, and were able to drive their students there. So as a result, as of the end of FY17, so the 16-17 school year, these are the number of students who actually received dual credit. So very, very, very small percentage of students who were able to earn this early college credit. And then the third thing we focused on was the transforming teaching and learning piece. So the academic, the core content piece, and the 21st century skills. We brought in the Buck Institute to do some project-based learning training. And as a result, we did some really great large interdisciplinary projects. But also what that did was really scare some teachers off, because those interdisciplinary projects were so huge that they required a massive undertaking. And so the idea of starting with an inquiry-based approach in a one subject area really wasn't talked about. What we were talking about was a whole school mock epidemic where every single academy was involved in trying to figure out how a disease was created and spread and how to solve that using media and using science and math. And again, as a result, it really kind of fizzled out because it just seemed like insurmountable and unsustainable. And then what also was happening was that students were really only identifying with the academy that was associated with their pathway course. So if I'm in Project Lead the Way Engineering, I'm in the Production Academy. But there was no other key identifier that really helped a student understand that their academy was more than their pathway course. So ideally, if we were able to do this again, what my recommendation would be would really be to start with that transforming teaching and learning piece. To start with the classroom and to help our teachers move from the sit and get or sage on the stage to letting students drive instruction and to the teacher being the facilitator. And then engaging your community, not only in providing those experiences, but helping form the curriculum. And then third is the physical structure. I think all of these things really could happen concurrently, but if we were able to do it over again, I would love to have seen us start with changing the behaviors of teaching and learning. But some of the things that we've done to address the way we started and moving forward and where we are now, we started with paring down our pathways. So I mentioned we had 23 pathways. So we created a rubric where we looked at our own pathways and said, Does it end in early college credit or industry certification? Is it aligned to our workforce? Is it a high wage, high demand job? And do our students show any interest in it? And if those things, if those questions don't have an answer of yes, then it's not going to be a pathway. We took our suggested pathways on a roadshow to our schools and had some very difficult conversations, but ultimately landed on 12 to 14 different pathways total, that each pathway has one 3-course sequence available for our students. We also worked with our post-secondary partners to connect dual credit opportunities with those 3-course sequences that we created. With that it became evident that we had some challenges that I don't think are unique to our community. One was finding and hiring instructors that are qualified to teach dual credit. The second was finding students or making sure students were qualified to meet the qualifications to receive dual credit. So in some cases, students had to take the college entrance exam. In our case, it's the AccuPlacer. And if students weren't meeting the reading threshold in the AccuPlacer, they weren't able to obtain the dual credit. And so we were able to work on pairing some reading interventions in order for our students to get that dual credit, but it took a lot of work and a lot of intentionality in our partnership with our post-secondary institutions to get there, and it's still a work in progress. Last year, we started really looking at all of our pathway curriculum. So in Rockford Public Schools, again, I'm sure this is not unique. We let a lot of our teachers just do what we thought that they do best. In a lot of cases, what they do best is fantastic, but it wasn't aligned and it wasn't the same across our district. And the problem with that is that we have a very high mobility rate in Rockford. So if a student moved from one school to another, they might have a completely different experience in Intro to Business and Tech concepts at one school versus another. And so we really wanted to make that experience unique, or I'm sorry, not unique, but from school by school across the district. So we worked to look at our Pathway 1 courses and brought in teams of teachers who teach those courses, as well as some of our community partners to say, what are you teaching? How can we connect this to our workforce? And what are some engaging ways that we can provide this curriculum to our students? At the same time, we worked to move our freshman seminar course, which was only 1 semester long, to a year-long course. The problem with it being a semester-long course is that our students had to choose their academy in January. So if you were taking freshman seminar second semester, you essentially started the class, and then you had to pick your academy. And so you were at a disadvantage. If you took it first semester, you had a whole semester to explore your interests, learn about the different academies available to you. And then in January, you pick your academy. Conversely, again, if you were taking the course second semester and you had to choose your academy in January, that was sometimes problematic and led to more students switching their academy. This year, we've been working on curriculum for the second course in the Pathway course sequence. Again, bringing together teams of teachers and our business and community partners to help them understand what we're doing and for us to understand what they're doing, just to ensure that our students are really learning in unique and dynamic ways that are relevant to today's workforce. Again, I'm sure you all are familiar with Transitional Math. So this was a huge benefit to us at Rockford Public Schools because we have a lot of students who go to post-secondary, our post-secondary partners and require remedial education. So we have all of our math literacy is the name of the course we call, but our transitional math teachers, our RPS teachers, and then, as you know, successful completion of the class leads to college level math courses. The issue that we've had to date is helping our students understand the why. And it's really become a marketing opportunity for us, I think. We require 3 years of math, and so many seniors don't have to take a math class. So trying to convince a senior in high school to take an elective math class has been a challenge for us. We hired this year a director of master scheduling, which has already proven to be a huge benefit to our district and to our high schools. So the way we were doing our master schedule was scheduling for core content areas first. And the issue with that is if a student was scheduled into English and then they have third hour free, let's say, in their schedule, and that third hour, let's say engineering class, we'll use that as an example again, is full or not available third hour. Oftentimes the counselor would say to a student, well, pathway 1 engineering class isn't available. Why don't you take a class in this other pathway? And so that was part of the reason why students were taking all kinds of scattered courses. And so we sort of have flipped the schedule to schedule for, first of all, our students with special needs and our English language learners. And then after those two, we're scheduling our pathways courses first, because there's more likely going to be more sections of English or math available than there would be a pathways course. And then we're scheduling for purity. And for us, purity means that we have the same students in the same academy in our core content classes. And the reason why that's important is because you can really embed the academy themes into core content areas when you have students in your class who are all in the same academy. And then the position was funded by 4 departments, curriculum, bilingual, special ed, and CCR, my department, because we all have a vested interest in ensuring our students are getting the classes that they need and the classes they deserve. We also added a position last year, which is an additional academy coach that solely focuses on special ed. So I mentioned earlier in the presentation that we have one academy coach at every high school, and that academy coach is assigned to that high school and works for me and with our schools to connect the community to the schools. This 6th position is an academy coach that floats among all 5 schools to focus on equity for students with special needs. So some of our students with special needs hadn't been out of the school building in literally years. While their peers were going on work-based learning opportunities, some of our teachers, not out of any malice, just out of having someone focused on the position, didn't offer the same opportunities to those students because maybe they weren't appropriate. And this position is able to find opportunities that may not be exactly the same as the opportunities that our traditional students have, but are equally as advantageous and beneficial. And so not only is this person connecting with the community for unique learning opportunities, service learning opportunities, but she has also helped create a student-run small business at every high school. So now all of our high schools have a business that is run by students with special needs, which is great. It's fantastic. Another way we've continued to move forward academies with more fidelity is by focusing on creating a work-based learning platform to connect and track employer partners, to track our CCRIs, and to track our internal benchmarks. So historically, we have not done a great job of keeping track of who are our partners, what schools are connected to what businesses, and what students are getting what opportunities. Our academy coaches are literally entering in students' name line by line and writing down what benchmark they've achieved. And it's just not sustainable, and it doesn't really provide a lot of data integrity. So we are working with a company who is helping us create a work-based learning database and platform to track experiences and hopefully continue to march us forward more data with fidelity. We're also working with another company to help us develop a digital profile of a graduate. And this would serve as a student portfolio, but it also will aggregate our student information from multiple systems. So it'll help connect that work-based learning database. It'll help pull in our student information system, and students can take it with them when they graduate. So we kind of envision this to be like a student version of LinkedIn that they can export with them and have it to serve as a resume or whatever they want in the future. And last but definitely not least, this is our biggest lift, and this is going to be our focus for the 2021 school year and in the foreseeable future. Is embedding those core content concepts into our pathways courses, which hasn't been the biggest lift. I mean, our pathways teachers have been pretty good about connecting. How does math play into this? How does reading play into this? I mean, you have criminal investigation teacher who used to be a police officer that says, I have to be able to write reports every single day, and English and grammar is critical. So we've been pretty good about that, but being more intentional about it. But I think our biggest challenge is going to be embedding those pathway concepts into our core content classes. So again, that's why pathway purity and academy purity is so critical. So you have all students who are interested in business, then that English teacher, instead of reading Romeo and Juliet, can read, you know, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teams or something like that. And that's going to be our job, is helping make sure that that gets implemented strategically and sustainably across our district. So I just want to say thank you for listening to our journey. We've learned a lot along the way, and we still have a lot of work to do, but we've had a lot of great partners, including the P-20 Council, NIU Ed Systems Center, Advance Illinois, so many great partners that have helped us get to where we are. So thank you. Again, my name is Bridget French, and you can reach me at bridget.french@rps205.com if you have any questions.
So Bridget, I want to thank you, and I think what this really points out is how long that journey has been, and school districts and other organizations, community colleges, as they move down this road, they need to give themselves the time to move down that journey as an organization and with the community. And so we're really excited. We've got a couple of more presentations in today's virtual meeting that will help people take these initial steps down this road. And I mean, we've got 4 or 5 different school districts today from throughout the region presenting their pathways and some specific tips and tricks. So there are definitely a lot of resources. To everybody watching at the P-20 Network, we are here to help you implement these things. You can reach out to us in a variety of ways, including on Twitter at P-20 Network. And Bridget, thank you so much for sharing Rockford's journey and where you're at this point as it continues to evolve.
Thank you.